Welcome to the new season of the Live Your Spa Life show. The SPA in Spa Life stands for Seek Power Always, that divine power within you to do what you're here to do. The theme for this season is intentional living. Amazing people like you share ways to live by design and with purpose to ensure that this short ride of life occurs with choice, physically, financially, spiritually, and in your relationships to create a world-class life. In these times of uncertainty, it's time for you to move past the distractions and start trusting yourself more through your God-giving knowingness. No one truly knows better what's best for you than you. In this season, you'll have plenty of examples of people choosing their best life and creating a positive impact through intentional living. Thank you for sharing your precious time with us and being part of the Live Your Spa Life conversation. With us today is Nina Rosengreen, creator of Women with Brilliance, visionary, and top producing sales consultant. With over 25 years of experience in sales and entrepreneurship, Nina has a wealth of knowledge and experience when it comes to closing the sale, in addition to a passion for encouraging and bringing together women in business. Nina, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you.
I love that we're having this conversation because I know like people who see you, they'll see like where you are in life now. You've got a bubbly personality, you lead with joy. And I think it's so important for people to see what the journey looked like how you got to where you're at. So, especially in the last couple of years, people have been feeling like fearful and a little bit more closed down and looking at life a little bit differently. What are some of the tools that you use to move past fear?
Well, that's a great question. And I know we talked about this before. I do have some really good points that I really wanted to take time and think about this because, we've all lived a lot of life. I think we've all been through a lot of life together and had our own journey, and we've all pushed past fear at some point or another. But I definitely have thought about, I had some pretty paralyzing fears in my life at certain points in certain areas, not in all areas, but in certain areas. So I would say, first of all, I do think from a young age, I have always been like a fear, like I was shy as a child, so many things. I was shy as a child. I was fearful or whatnot, but I do remember I've always been the type, well, you got to do it anyway. Like I just remember that. So when I was 10 or so, my mom put me in a beauty pageant, and I just remember going to get on stage for the show, and I was terrified. But I'm like, you literally have no option here. There's an audience out there. You got to go. So I just that was my very first thing I remember as a child of fear. So, but I did it anyway. It was terrifying. But anyway, so I would just say, recognizing it. What's the worst thing that can happen? What's the worst thing that was going to happen is, I didn't win. I didn't win the pageant. Oh, well, right?
Right. Well, you also talk about having people in your life, right? When you know that you've got those core group of people that have your back, no matter what happens, and knowing that they'll help you through it, they'll help you see your blind spots. Talk about having people in your life that help you when you are feeling like, oh my God, I'm frozen, or I feel like fearful, or I'm not sure how to get through certain things.
I would say, I didn't used to have that core of people. I had a great community of people, but I wasn't being authentic, and I was living kind of secretly in my inside. And then up until, about 4 years ago in 2019 is when I decided that was enough. I wanted to have an authentic life. I wanted to be fearless. I wanted to do all the things I wanted to always do. So I started reaching out. I have a core group of friends, a core group of professionals, a core group of family that I know I can call and talk to. I can be authentic. I can be vulnerable. I can tell the truth, and I can take it. And they support me, and I know these people, these core group of people are going to be 100% honest with me.
Nice.
Not everybody always is.
Right. No, I agree. I think that, I call these my 2 a.m. people. Like these are people that I can call at 2 a.m. and they're going to pick up the phone and they're going to, see the things that I'm not seeing and be able to just walk through that. I mean, I see that a lot with my clients, and I'm sure you've seen this too, like as, an executive and being in business and everything, you kind of have to show the strong front, right? You want to be able to be personable and, like you say, be authentic, but you also want to have the trust in your people too, that you don't always dump everything that's going on in your life. And I think having those confidants of people with you allows you to kind of work through your stuff before you kind of, spew out onto everybody else what's going on. Have you experienced any of that?
100%, yes. And I will say, years back, I had one person that I could tell what I was going through, but it wasn't enough. I don't think one person is enough. You need more than one. But anyway, she was amazing, so amazing. But yes, yeah, I do feel like, and I do know now the core group of people I have, I do know I can say 911. I need to talk to somebody right now. I know I can count on those people to tell me the truth. And they're such good people, but it is super important to have that support, to have them push you through it. Yeah, sorry, I'm thinking of so many things right now.
I totally get that. I mean, as somebody who's lived an undercover life, I mean, both personally and professionally, right? When I worked undercover prostitution, it was like, you had to think quick on your feet. You had to be completely a different personality in that way. But I also was able to look at, what were some of the ways that I was being undercover in my own life. And, I think that a lot of times when you have like crazy professions, that you kind of have a little crazy that comes into your own life. And I too went through like an abusive relationship. And I love how you share about how, being in one can be really confusing because it's not who you are, right? When you show up in the world as a confident, positive person, it's harder for other people to see why you would be in a relationship like that. And I think we're also doubly hard on ourselves because we know what our best version can be and how is it that we allowed ourselves to get into this place. So I'd love for you to share your experience with having, an abusive relationship, one that was not in alignment with who you are here to be.
Yeah. To tell you the truth, I really was amazed when you reached out to me and this question came up because it's been since July of 2019. That was the day, that was the month, that was the time, the year that I made that decision. And it was huge. And I will say for years, it's been how many years, 3, 4, 5 years, whatnot, that I didn't even tell anybody. I didn't say anything. I left and I'm like, I just left. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even tell anyone why. And when this came up, I'm like, you know what? You're asking me a real question and I have to answer truthfully. And this is one of the very, 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 very first times I have talked about that and that I have said, this is what happened to me. And this, was difficult. And hopefully I kind of forgot your question, but
no, it's okay because it's really about, and this is actually a real thing. Like when we get hit up against challenging things in our life, we can totally blank out, right? Because we're not that person anymore, right? You've evolved into a different way of being. So for us to go back and look at when you were in an abusive relationship, right? And talk a little bit about what was going on with you inside your head of, I'm in this trap place. I know that's not who I am. How do I get out of this? Right? Because we set up these things that this is now our life. And, I think it's so important because I think there's so many people living undercover lives, right? They want to be authentic. They want to change it. And most people see the best version of themselves. And that's part of the pitfalls of social media, right? Is they see, all of the happiness that we have going on and they don't see some of the struggles. And this is where we get the opportunity in things like podcasts, in coaching and counseling, is for people to have a safe place to reveal who they are.
Yeah, I think I was, before that happened, before that relationship happened, I was successful. I was myself. I was like a funny, like joking person. I would, me and my girlfriends would, I was a totally different person, confident, successful, happy, all of those things. And then this relationship happened, and slowly over a period of time, those things just slowly went away. And I'm like, why am I doubting myself so much? Why am I questioning myself so much? This, why were you so confident before this? And now you're not. And it's because they slowly chip away at your confidence, right? So over time, you get confused. You're like, wait, am I crazy? Am I not am I really not that great, or all those things. So that's when you're like, no, I know I'm not crazy. I am smart. I am this, I am that. I have had success. I've done all these things before this has happened to me. And that's when I started reaching out. I had my one person, that was my lifeline, but then I started building more. I started building those relationships, and I actually had people come to me and say, you're not being yourself. You're acting kind of strange or whatever. And this really started, like, that's that whole mirror in your face, like, holy cow, people are seeing me. They're starting to figure it out. And then, you just get strong enough to where you can leave.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one of the things I so appreciate about you sharing this is that for people to realize that you don't just wake up and this has changed, right? It is that slow erosion. And when you have people who, whether it's, gaslighting or, telling you you're crazy, or then you just start having that second guessing of what's going on, and there starts having hesitation, procrastination, and then these things start building upon themselves. And then there you are with yourself, and you're trying to grasp for that next version. And so that's why it's so important to have that lifeline, that person that can like help you get out of your own way to be able to walk yourself back to that. And so that no matter how low any of us can get, there's always that next step out. And for you, and I love what you said, it's a decision, right? It's a choice to now live a different way. And it's not always easy. And so when you were like packing up things, and you didn't take that much, right? You didn't have really anywhere to go. You didn't have a lot of resources. There's all of that happening. What were some of the like first things that you did in just so that people can kind of put themselves in there, like the day you left? What were some of the things you did to start moving into the next iteration of yourself?
Well, I hope it doesn't sound too out there, but honestly, I think anyone who's ever been in that situation, or just even leaving a job, I would say a toxic relationship, a toxic job, like any type of change or situation, I would say you're sometimes can be paralyzed with fear. And I think something inside me, it just was a slow buildup, but then it just snapped. And I'm like, oh, that's it. And then the actual moment when I was packing my things and actually physically doing the packing and the moving and stuff out, I was like, my body didn't want to do it. My body's like, no, don't do this. This is terrifying. You have no money. You have nowhere to go. You're literally going to drive into the freeway, into the mountains, and you have nowhere you're going. And so, but I will say, I'm like, honestly, if you're spiritual, I really feel like God was like, literally like, keep going. Don't stop. Just put that in there, hurry up and get out. Zip up the suitcase, throw it in the car and go. Like I feel like he was literally there, just like, keep going. It's going to be fine. It was terrifying. But I had to do it anyway, because what's the worst thing that was going to happen? I didn't have much to lose. I had nothing else to lose.
Yeah. I always have to smile when I think of like those defining moments, those God moments. And I always think of like, when you go, God, where are you? Why aren't you saving me? Why aren't you out there? And then you go like, hey, I sent you a boat. I sent you an airplane. Like I sent you all these things. And it's not until
we're ready, to hear the message that, he's always been there. And that's where that, intuition, that discernment, like all of those things are there for us. And, it's not a matter of, part of the human experience is having challenging things. And a lot of times we need those things, and we can look at them as, wow, this actually happened for me, because now I've got the experience and the foresight to, when I then talk to someone else, and that's part of us having this conversation now, is there's somebody listening to this now who is in that place. They have put one thing in their bag and they're afraid to change, because there's the devil we know and the devil we don't know, right? And so either way, it feels scary. And so when we take that step, we got to have that one person. And sometimes that one person is God, and being able to trust that you're being led in your next step and what you're doing. And that is really part of that first step of trusting yourself, that you will be shown the way when you ask.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you, it's the craziest thing. I did start building that support system. I had some friends, and I knew I was doing the right thing. But it wasn't till like an hour or so into my drive, after I packed and left, and I'm driving into the desert, and I came across a YouTube channel like this. Like, I came across this YouTube channel talking about what I was doing. I'm like, this is insane. I've never even heard of this type of personality before. But it just, like, for 17 hours for my whole drive back to my hometown, 17 hours worth of internet service I paid for when I got back, listening to this person and their YouTube channel. It just kept me going and going each hour. I'm like, keep going. You're doing the right thing, because this was so validating. I was like, oh my gosh, that's what I've been doing all these years. This is what I was going through. I didn't know. So maybe, and now I can spot it a mile away. Like you said, an alcoholic can spot an alcoholic a mile away. So we can a lot of times spot people who may be in a situation like this, or, whatever. So hopefully someone will find this and be like, I got to keep going. I got to keep driving.
Absolutely. Well, we're our hardest critic on ourselves as well. And so once we've kind of conquered one area, we can then start seeing how does it affect other areas of our life too. And so you talk a little bit about like body positivity, especially, for the 40 plus. I mean, our society is all about, the youthful, all the roles are all around like the 20 somethings and all of that. And so there is a sense of, what is my value as I get older, and what does that look like, and how we relate to ourselves and all of those things. So how do some of these lessons that you've learned along the way apply to that as well?
Well, when I first got back, I actually went back to, back to my counselor that I've known for years, that I trusted. And I'm like, help me get back to like my real self. Like, I didn't trust myself, right? You don't trust yourself. I'm like, I don't know. I'm a bad person? I don't know who I am. So I just felt all those things, but working through it, doing the work, putting yourself out there, right? Just doing it every day, waking up, doing it. I've had girlfriends while I was dating. They're like, how do you keep going on these dates? I'm like, I don't know. I don't give up. I got to keep trying. You got to keep going and be willing to learn through the process. So anyway, yeah. So
what's the part about loving yourself, like loving your body and showing up as who you are?
Well, so for example, since I was young, I guess I've been a chubby child. I don't know. So I was, nothing negative against anyone, but I was put on diets as a child. I was restricted. My sisters they were thin. They could have 2 cookies, 4 cookies, whatever. I was limited. I was put in that beauty pageant, but I had to go on a diet before, like all these messages, right? That are as a child. So these have been ingrained in a lot of us. The work I have been doing for the last 4 years has been in the aesthetics industry, which, I get hundreds of calls every month, and I talk to hundreds of people via Zoom. So face to face, I see their body, I see them, and they're calling and they're beating up on themselves. And I used to do the same. I used to do the same thing constantly, daily. And through this, I have just, my message now when I meet people, like, not that I don't do it every so often. We all do every so often. If a pair of jeans is too tight one day, you're like, oh, shoot. But at the same time, I'm like, you know what? That's okay. Let's go buy a new pair. Let's buy a pair that fit. But I just think that so many people are out there because of social media, because of our upbringing, whatever it is, that message, they're beating themselves up. And especially women and men too. I get calls from men too, that they're just down on themselves. And I'm like, no, you know what? You're a beautiful person inside and out. I mean, be healthy, be, active, do all the right things, but I have learned you can be healthy. You can eat all vegetables and you can still have a little chub. It happens, but you got to love that chub.
Right. Well, I think it's part of the messaging is to love where you are at right now. It's great to make healthy choices, to actually, we always want to be, bettering ourselves, right? But it's important to look at that we're not just this single dimension being, right? There's a reason why it's mind, body, spirit, right? And emotions and all of these things, because they all affect that. If how we're talking to ourselves is in a negative way, you don't think that affects like our stress levels, our cortisol, the retention. I mean, all of these things work together. And so, if you really want to have wellness and you want to be the healthiest version of yourself, it's looking at all the different aspects of yourself. So, by looking at that, we can actually have a more positive outlook. Then it actually starts having us feel better, and then we start getting outside and we start moving our body, right? And we start connecting with people, and it's all interrelated. And that's one of the beauties of this human experience, is being able to look at all of it. And as one of those things I love to ask as for guests on my show is, because we create our experiences, that we live differently in our kitchen, our bedroom, or our office. So what's your favorite room in your home and why?
Oh, that's a hard one. I, oh my goodness. Okay. I would say my living room. Cause I sit here, this is my little virtual office right here. And I made my living room cause that's my view and my windows and everything. So I kind of made it up really cute and like where I can look at it and just be inspired. So, and I love sitting in it. I love being in it. I love the lighting, the atmosphere, all of that. So, and I love looking out the window, there's squirrels, everything. So that would be it. But in the future, it will be my bedroom and my bathroom, but I'm in transition right now. So that's not it right now.
I love it. An exercise I used to do with some of my clients, because I would help them about like creating an environment and space that they love. Like they loved everything about what they had. And so an exercise I used to have people do is go into each room of your home and stand in the middle of that room, whether it's a closet or an actual room or your garage or whatever it is, and then just close your eyes and just take a few deep breaths and see how you actually feel in that room. And it's amazing how people have rooms in their home that they actually hate being in. And so it's wild to be able to look at it. And then you can kind of start unpacking, going, what do I love about this room? What do I hate about this room? And sometimes it's just like one weird thing that's in the space that triggers you. It's just wild how it works like that.
I totally agree. Actually, it's kind of funny. Like I said, I'm kind of in a transition place in my life in a lot of different areas right now. But I have been a certified life coach. I've done coaching, this and that. And this was like a huge thing for me. I used to coach people. I'm like, your environment is so important, all of this. And I 100% agree with that. And where we are right now, I'm a very direct and I know what I want. I know what I, need to have in order to be happy. And so, my amazing man in my life, he hears, I'm like, this has to change real quick. I'm like, I know what I'm like, this has to be a different color. But he totally is so supportive of that. And he's like, whatever makes you happy, because it's true. It's so true. So It just takes time. Just do one little bit at a time.
Totally. When I was in on the police department, I've been in like thousands of homes. And when I was there, I coined the term called the clutter to drama ratio, that the more drama you had in your life, it was like the more clutter you had in your life, there was a relationship, a ratio between that, and that police were coming to your home, and that the reverse was true. Like when you create safe spaces, when you create, more clarity in your environment, you've got more clarity in your head, in your brain. And so I used to do that on my days off because I was around so much chaos with 911 and working undercover and just all those things, to create some stability and peace and, a great place that I could connect with my family and my friends, made a huge difference. And I think sometimes we overlook our environment and its influence. And it's not a matter of, prosperity, whether, you have money or a lot of money. You can have a very small space and still make it something that inspires you by just even having a fresh flower in there, right? Something beautiful to look at. Any little thing can really affect our mindset. And sometimes we don't really look at what are some of the things that trigger us, what are some of the things that inspire us, like all of those different things. We have the opportunity to look at that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. If anyone knows me personally, I'm a minimalist. I like a minimal wardrobe. I have minimal, in my home, it's very minimal. And all for that reason, just because I've learned, I'm like, you're right. If you have a cluttered anything, I'm like, a cluttered closet is a cluttered mind. I can't do it. If I have a cluttered closet somewhere, I'm like, it will drive. I'm like, it's on my mind. I'm like, I've got to go straighten out that closet. So I totally agree with that. I am a huge environmental person, a lifestyle person. I believe in less stress, the least amount of stress as possible, in all areas, right? And that's why I think it's important to have that community and that support system, because then you can address things and you can change and grow and evolve and become that better person. So I love all that.
Oh, so good. Well, as you know, our theme for this season is intentional living. And so I'd love for you to share about how you're living an intentional life. And I know part of that is having a daily focus on love.
Yeah, it is. I actually just was talking to my daughter about this, because I went almost a decade in a chaotic, not toxic environment, and not in with real love, like compassion, empathy, understanding, kindness, respect. And so I was just telling her, I don't think she knew, but I was in Arizona a couple years ago and I got a tattoo. I used to actually have a necklace and it said love. I go, because my theme for my life as of 2019, after I did leave that, I go, my theme in life is now love. It is love. I'm going to approach everything with love. So I used to wear a necklace, it broke. So actually I got a tattoo. And so I'm like, fine, I'll just make it permanent. And I texted it to her the other day because she was feeling anxious. She's a young mom. She's feeling anxious. She was feeling stressed out. I go, hun, I'm like, look, I go, did I ever tell you I got this? I want you to take a look. I go, and this is my daily reminder. It's right here. I can see it every day. And I did this because this is to remind me I so much more that I could have done, more loving in the past, all of these things. And she was like, she was kind of like, oh, wow, that's pretty deep, Mom. So, but yeah, I do believe that. I just, I used to look at people when I was in that relationship. It was weird anyway, but I envied people who had that love, who had love for other people, who had love from people, who could just love just a stranger, who could just help a person, a regular person. And I was like, I just want to be that person. I want to be that person who wants to help people, care about people, no matter who they are, and be kind and empathetic and loving and, show that to other people. So that is my theme.
Yeah, I love it. It's so good when you've gone through challenging things and you get to the other side of that, you realize how much choice we actually get to have. And it really does make a difference when we can change those things around, look at it from a different perspective, see how these things are happening for us, and really act from that place. So I think that I so appreciate you sharing, your journey and your experience and your wisdom. And I know that our audience are going to want to stay in contact with you. How can they best do that?
Right now, I would say the best way is on either Facebook. You can, I don't know, do people use Facebook anymore? I hear it, they don't. I do. They can reach out to me on Facebook at Nina Rosengreen, or they can reach me on LinkedIn as well. So I'm on there. In the next few months or so, I'll have a website, but as of right now, I don't. But that would be the best way, I would say, is LinkedIn or Facebook, definitely.
Perfect. Well, thank you again for being with us here today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You got it. And to our listeners out there, if you've gone through some challenging times, you can really stop at any time. That it's a choice, it's a decision. It can be scary, it can be hard, but utilize these stories, utilize the path that you can just take that one step. Find out who your lifeline is, have that one friend that you can call, and make those courageous choices so that you can live the life that you want to live. So until we connect again, live your spa life. Bye for now.